if you feel you can and you would like to, that'd be really helpful. And then the second part, we'll do a bit of a poll again, because we love a poll at CDC, where I'd like you to be honest and open about feedback on NHS England roles, whether that's regional or national. It would be really helpful, because I'm going to use this for one of our evidence papers, so that we can try to get more people and strengthen the function of these roles. So that's just the main objectives. And Marie, if you can move on to the next slide, just so I can. I've basically covered it anyway, but when we were thinking quick wins or early wins or picking off the low-hanging fruit, whatever you want to do, to sort of define this, it's a looking at things that are easy to implement. Now, what has been easy to implement during COVID? So I'm being a bit flippant in this, but I'm looking for sort of things that we feel personally between ourselves, or we've heard through our teams, that has had a high impact. So it's been fairly easy to implement, but it's had a significant impact on your system or your ways of working. Colleagues who are new to hearing from us, don't know anything about these roles in NHSE, NHSI, and are non-health people, I've got a bit of an update on who's who, because people are changing around, and then we'll do some reflections, and then there's a bit of feedback, as I say, on impact of the roles, and then you've got an opportunity to say, oh, I would like you to do something different, NHS England send leads, and give us some of that feedback. So that's the overall, the next 25-30 minutes of our time. So next slide is number 3, Marie, if you're okay to move to that, because there has been a few changes, and I've got a couple of regional colleagues on the call with me. So I've got Glenn Harrison from Lancashire and South Cumbria, and I did have Christine Brown on the session before, and I did have Fiona Boyd on the session before, but Glenn's joined me for this one. For those colleagues who don't know who their NHS England regional lead is, obviously I'm the national lead, you can get in touch with me using both of those emails. I'll pick them up and I can introduce you to people if you want to know who they are. So all the names are there underneath. Across NHS England, we work across 7 regions, so it's slightly different from DFE and local authority regions, and that's a new way of working that we've been doing for just over 18 months now. So these are the names of people, and it's growing and it's changing. So for example, we have a new lead in Greater Manchester. It's now Tracy Hart. If you had been working with Wazim Khan before, it's now Tracy. And Fiona Boyd has joined to work with Christine Griffiths-Evans in Cheshire and Merseyside. And then in Yorkshire and the Humber, they have split it into working across the ICSs. So Wendy, Phil and Kerry work across the ICS systems for SEND. So that's a different way of working than some other regions. So that's just a quick reminder. And then I want to move on to the next slide, which it's got a lot of detail on it, and I apologise for that, but it's some of my personal reflections on what I feel has been a quick win, or something that's been a significant impact for me either personally or for me working across the system nationally. So 3 themes: communication, policy and guidance, and leadership and team support. What I can see, whether that's a national forum or whether it's a regional forum that I've been attending, I can definitely see that it was fairly easy to get people on the membership, make sure they're engaged. It was fairly easy to set up new forums, but the strength and the impact there is that I've seen that you've been giving each other more peer support. There's been more time because there's been more meetings generated through forums where you've had time to reflect during the difficult times. And most importantly, I think you've widened the membership. And I could say that about ourselves nationally, although we've not working in forums, but having our colleagues here this morning from mental health and learning disability and autism children's team has been, fantastic. And I know you enjoyed that session. So forums is only one way of communicating, but that for me has been one of our areas that we've strengthened, and I would like to continue doing that into the future. There is a question around whether we would look to do something differently or in addition, because there's a futures platform being set up for the Children and Young People's Transformation Board, where we'll have a site for SEND. So we need to work through what's the best way and actually what's the simplest way and the less amount of time spent. And I feel, and colleagues, you can tell me otherwise, but I feel like our CDC forums work really well. We don't need to sign into them with a password. We get an email, you can move it out your inbox into another thing, and you can go back to it when you have time. So that's been quite important. From a policy perspective, I think Janet from DFE mentioned earlier around how we've been working across cross-system working group and meeting up with policy leads around the SEND review and other things, comprehensive spending review, many other things that goes on across government. And we've been meeting weekly and fortnightly. And that, for me, I've met so many new people that I thought I knew in DFE. I've met a lot more in DH over this time. So it's been really important because those policy connections, people knowing what you're doing, has then helped us, for example, on the aerosol generating procedure stuff, working with Public Health England and many others. It's helped us to make sure that the feedback you've given us has been incorporated and considered into future guidance. And that's been really important to me, and I would like to continue those relationships and support that policy agenda, whatever it is, whatever we are, and when we come out of all this. And then the other thing is we've been able to have a seat at the table virtually on the cross-government sit-rep meetings that were happening daily. They now happen weekly, and the Health Voice has been there across government for children and young people with the vulnerabilities group. So that's been significant. And then I guess all leads to relationships and building that relationships with other people. I think working with our regional leads, I've made them do a weekly call all the way from May. They still want to do weekly. I'm trying to get them to go fortnightly, but they value that weekly meeting. And I know that some of the information that I give then gets to you at your regional meetings. And it's instant. We can message each other, we can share things as they come out. And we've obviously got new members who've started work on SEND during COVID and new roles, which is a challenge for anyone. And I think, joining up, coming and attending your local meetings is definitely keeping me grounded. I am hearing right from yourselves at local level the challenges, but also the good stuff. And I think you've all been fairly open and honest, and you've been welcoming, which has been fantastic, because there is no way that I can keep driving this agenda and pushing it and influencing it if I don't really know what's going on the ground. And I don't know everything, but I'm there. I'm available if you would need to speak to me. So that is my reflections. I want to come to Glenn next in a minute, but I'll just tell you what Chris said about her reflections and Fiona when they were on the call earlier. So, I mean, Chris sort of echoed some of the things that I had said. I'd asked her about what's your quick win that you're most proud of regionally, and she said running the meetings that she has been doing in the Northeast for the last few months that are now on monthly. She said it feels like people are able to feel comfortable. It's a safe space and they can ask questions across the partnership. Alison was on the meeting earlier from the Northeast. You're on this call and you might want to add in some comments around that. But Alison was saying it was very health focused at the beginning, and Alison works in local authority, and it feels like it's education, health and care, parent carers and everyone working together. So that was Chris's feedback. And then Fiona, because Fiona's new, she'd felt that working, the quick win is getting to know who's who and who you have to connect with, but she's seen strengthened relationships across the partnership, and looking at things in different ways, and getting to know what the agenda is. So that's been particularly important for Fiona during this time. And Glenn, I don't know if you wanted to add something from a Lancs and South Cumbria perspective.
Hi Lorraine, thanks. Yes, hi everyone. I'm Glenn Harrison from NHS England and Improvement across the Northwest, and I cover the Lancashire and South Cumbria patch. Um, I think I'd echo what you said previously from Christine and Fiona. But for me, one of the most important elements is about that engagement and strengthening the voice of children and young people and parent carers as well. And I think during COVID, there's been some really positive examples of how we've been able to engage with people on a virtual basis, and I think that's been largely well received. I know there are some instances where it's not, and we need to work on those issues, but I think largely it's been well received. And ensuring that the strength of that voice is heard through the commissioning and provider services as well, so that they can influence how services are delivered and get some positive impacts out of it. And I think for me, one of the most positive elements during this COVID pandemic has been about how Department for Education and Department for Health and us in NHS England have worked together to support areas and understand how they've been managing through the COVID issues. And it feels as though we've worked together really well, and there's been quite a close partnership there. So I think that's been very positive as well. So all in all, I think we've responded quite well, and I'd like to see us continue along that vein in the future.
Thank you, Glenn. That's helpful to know. Does anyone want to add anything? Of course, I've given the perspective of a couple of colleagues, and others couldn't join us today. But I don't know if you've got anything to add around, your regional working with our regional leads. If you feel that that's something that's been helpful, or not, or you might want to put it into the poll when you get to it. But I'll just pause for a minute and see if anybody puts their hand up. So Sam's got a hand up, and then Elaine.
It was just to say that the North East Regional SEND events are incredibly helpful for a number of reasons. It's about peer support. Sometimes if you're the only DCO in an area, it can be quite isolating. There is a sense of benchmarking as well. So there are approaches where we look at where we all are across a region, and that is supportive because you don't always know where you stand compared to your neighbouring local authorities for some issues and CCGs. Sharing best practice, and I suppose I'm also looking ahead to the integrated care systems work, and where we are likely to be going in terms of how things move. And this feels like a very robust way in terms of capturing regional assurance governance. It just feels like it knits everything up together and enables smaller areas to be able to feed up key issues and then to be fed up sort of nationally. And I think the other thing to comment is that I'm also the strategic lead for the council, for the local authority, and there isn't an equivalent from the education side. And if you look at the membership of who attends our regional SEND learning events, there's a lot of local authority colleagues who've drifted into that over time. So it's actually filling a need, I think, where there is a need to sense check as a ICS or whatever footprint, benchmark, share best practice, but keep it local.
That's really good. Thank you, Sam. And I know everyone values those meetings, and I think we will get more information about what it is they value, and what impact that's having at the next meeting. Really, really helpful. Elaine, would you like to come in?
Hi, yeah, mine's similar to Sam's, really, that the regional meeting is a very supportive peer group and it allows us to share best practice, allows us to understand what other areas are doing, how we can learn from that. It upskills us, our knowledge base. As you know, I've been in the role as a DCO on the Wirral, And I'm not aware of anyone moving away from the Wirral, although somebody's just panicked, emailed me saying, are you leaving? Because someone's just told me there's a new DCO role coming.
Oh, that might be me. That might be my fault. I've got it wrong. It's Wigan. It's the W.
I was thinking, oh, no one's told me I've been sacked. But no, it's really good peer support. I think our roles have been difficult because there was no rule book. So we started on the ground running. I think we worked really well as a group. I think the role has flourished and grown, and I think that it's having impact, and it's being very evident on the ground when you're looking at things that have been implemented. So I think it's just a really good opportunity for us to share all our work and learn from other areas.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great, because think about, Elaine, where we were before when we had the CDC event at the end of March, and how people were sharing how the networks. I think if we were to look now, people have got so much more out of it because of the remote way of working. And easier access to one another. So thank you, and sorry about that if I've made people. It's me getting my geography wrong. I'll apologise to Louise, who is from Wigan, when I speak to her on Monday. Okay, so any other colleagues feel that they would like to share something from their perspective locally that they feel they're quite proud of, and they would classify as a quick win during the last couple of months before we move on to doing the poll? If you just put your hands up, that would be helpful. And I know I haven't prepared you for this, so I apologise if I'm putting you on the spot. Oh, sounds like people want some lunch. Oh, Michelle, please come in. Tell us from Sheffield.
I'm off mute finally. I just wanted to say actually that I'm fairly new in terms of a full-time post within the Sheffield area, and actually we don't have a children's community nursing team within our area, so they use the DCO quite effectively to unblock a lot of situations within schools that usually a community nursing team would fulfil. And I think just by doing that, the schools are now becoming more accepting that they need to change their culture around accessing health support to enable them to function adequately across the city. So for me, that was a real quick win. I was thrown into the deep end in regards to the AGP stuff and trying to resolve issues around that. But that, it's not a regretful function that I've taken on. It's been really positive in supporting the health conversations, I suppose, across the whole system, because it did affect the whole system, not just our mainstream and special schools.
I think that would be really important, and I guess I say to any new DCO, think about what impact you're having and let your partners tell you what impact you're having. And whether that's from a parent perspective, an organisational perspective, or a local authority or others. I'm very aware, Michelle, of no CCNs, because CCN is my background, children's community nursing. Yeah, I was hoping that that's something that maybe we could look at in the future. So maybe we can touch base on that at another point.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you, Lorraine.
So shall we, I'll just check it no one else wants to come in, and then we can move on to the poll. Doesn't look like it. So with the poll, Marie's going to put up a poll, and it's obviously live. There are 3 questions that I gave to Marie, but I think there are actually more by the time we've put it out on the poll. But the whole point here is I'm looking for some feedback. If you have worked with an NHS England, myself nationally or regionally, tell us a bit more about what that feels for you and some feedback. If you haven't and you'd like to know, that's okay. You might tell us what you think we could be doing. So I'll let Marie run the poll and see how we get on with the results. If you are not accessing the poll and you feel you wish to send some of these questions back separately to my email account, it's Lorraine Mulroney at nhs.net, because I don't think I can put it in a chat here. It doesn't seem to have a chat function.
These answers as well, I didn't want to wipe them from the last session.
Oh,
So
okay.
that all, because otherwise I don't think I'd be able to do that. So they're all from this session and the last session.
Okay, that's okay.
So if anyone's confused, you just go, the instructions for doing this are at the top. You go use your smartphone on the internet to put in this web address, poliv.com/jazz-do393, and the question should appear on your phone.
Marie, I'll let you be in charge of when to move on because you'll be able to see how many people have commented or contributed.
Yeah, I think we can move on now.
Okay.
Okay, I think we'll move on. Okay, next question. Okay, we'll move on. So if you choose other for this question, you'll get a chance to specify that on the next slide. Okay, I don't think that anybody actually put other, so I'll move on, but if you did put other, write it in the chat or email Lorraine. So I think, no, this isn't the one that we want. That was the last one then.
Yep.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you to those who've been able to feed that back, because it's really helpful. I do appreciate it. It's interesting to note that the ICS theme is coming up, and that is something that we are all working on behind the scenes, and also with our regional children young people's leads as well, because influencing together is better than influencing just by one system. And yeah, what do they currently offer? Now that's a very interesting one. Maybe I've got to task our regional leads to come up with their current offer on one page, so you can see that and understand, because they do work slightly differently, although they have got some core things that they do, activities that they do work on. So I will take that back to them next Tuesday. So thank you for that. Is it time for people to go and have a break now, Maria? Or what happens now? Are we done?
Yeah, we're not going back into the main session. If you just bear with me, and I'm going to post the evaluation link in the chat. And we really ask you to do the evaluation, please, because it forms part of our impact reporting to DFE. So let me just find that link. It will only take 2 minutes to fill out, and then you're free to go.
I don't know if any DCOs are joining the session this afternoon on Clinically Extremely Vulnerable, but if you are, I will see you there. Oh, Siobhan's got a hand up. Siobhan, can we help?
It's a really practical question. It doesn't appear to be a chat function.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say.
Anyway, I don't know. Am I the only one, or?
Oh, really? We've had some comments in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right. I can't see the chat either, Marie.
I could in all the others earlier, but for some, oh well, I must have.
Teams can be so odd, because sometimes it just works so well for people and at other times it just doesn't. But we will be sending this link out. It's also in the main session chat.
Okay.
And we'll be sending it out with the slides as well. So you'll
Was
have
there anything in the chat that I didn't pick up? Because I'm conscious of that now.
And let me have a look. We had a comment about the weather in the Wirral looks great.
That's really important, that is.
No, it's mainly about tech issues.
Okay, lovely.
Can I just raise my point, Lorraine? I did say I wanted to put it in the chat, but I couldn't do it in the poll. I'd like the push to make the role of the DCO statutory, given a bit more, because I know we talked about it a long time ago, and when we developed the handbook for the DMO DCO role, we talked about it back then, and obviously
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Great. I
think I'll let you know more on the forum as DCOs and DMOs. We're obviously going to do a bit of work on induction, but there will be other things that I need to provide and support the SEND review team with, because there will be specific references to DCO and those functions within the SEND review. So watch out for me coming back, and I may be looking for some DCOs or DMOs to offer some clinical time. I'm just trying to work out some funding for that to support.
Cool, thank you.
Lovely. Are we okay, Marie, to head off now?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend. Take care.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.